It's 10:50, and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee of Thursday, August 21st, 2025. And I'm chairing the meeting on behalf of David Rabbit, who is otherwise involved this morning, I guess is how we say that. Before we begin, please note this morning is being recorded. Welcome to everyone joining us here in person, as well as those listening on the phone. If you would like to provide public comment at today's meeting, and if you have not done so already, please let Thomas in the back of the room or Justine on the call-in line know what items you would like to speak on today. Madam Secretary, please begin by calling the roll.
Thank you. We'll start with Director Devlin.
Here.
Giudice.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Maston.
Here.
Verdoni.
Here.
Vice Chair Parr.
Present.
Chair Rabbit is absent, and President Cochran.
Here.
Also in the room, we have Directors Garbarino and Hill. We are not a committee of the whole, but you do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located on the bottom right-hand corner of your meeting packet. And we'll begin with agenda item number 3, which is ratification of previous actions by the Auditor Controller. The staff report begins on page 5, and Monique Spike from PFM is here today with us to go over the PFM investment report that begins on page 9. Good morning, Monique.
Good morning, everybody.
Please take us through your report.
Yes, thank you.
I'm always grateful that you're here to take us through it because we all go through it and we go, really? I wonder. So we wait for your calm analysis of what.
Okay, well, I will start on page 10 of the packet. And just some things I want to highlight on this chart is the extreme up and down of the 2-year Treasury curve. This chart shows the 2-year Treasury between July 2023 and July 2025. And as you can see, we've been generally in a downward path as, the market's anticipating rates declining. But what's a little bit harder to see, I almost wish we could focus on sort of the month-to-month changes in the 2-year Treasury just this year, because there's been a lot of volatility there. In the month of July, interest rates on the 2-year Treasury rose about 24 basis points. Since then, they've actually fallen back down for a number of reasons, and I'll speak about that now. One, the market has been waiting in anticipation for the Fed to cut interest rates. And so far this year, Chair Powell has indicated that they're taking a wait-and-see approach. They want to see what the economy is doing. I think the market was surprised in July by the jobs report data, which quite frankly showed jobs slowing. We had significant revisions to the amount of jobs that were in the economy to the downward. And as we all know, some of those negative jobs data caused the Trump administration to make some changes at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But what's notable about that is because of that jobs report, that suggested that, we may need some get up and go in the economy. And so that suggested something to the market. We also, on the other side of that, are dealing with the tariff news. And, some of the tariffs that were on hold actually started to be locked in during the month. And so what we saw there was some notifications or indications that we'd have a base tariff level of around 10 to 15%. That indicates that prices would be rising. And so the Federal Reserve is really, dealing with a lot of data, a lot of, indications on the upside. And so that's causing the market to react. One of the things that we're really focused on today is the fact that the chair and the Fed are at Jackson Hole in Wyoming, and we're expecting a speech this Friday to come out. We saw the minutes from the Fed meeting just this past week. Or I guess that was yesterday, on Wednesday came out, essentially showing that there's been some dissent in the Fed. Chair Powell is indicating that we may be on hold for a little bit longer, although the market is pricing in perhaps 2 or 3 rate cuts. What's really noticeable about the recent Fed minutes, though, is that we had 2 Fed governors, Waller and Bowman, dissent, and we haven't had Fed governors dissent on the interest rate path since 1993. And so a little bit of market turmoil. We're all waiting with bated breath to see what comes out of that. For my part, I don't have a clear window into what the Fed is going to do because there's so much uncertainty in the market. Some of the CPI data on the next page 11, we saw some of the CPI core inflation numbers coming out in June, and inflation has been in check. We haven't seen much there, which is a good indicator. However, producer prices have come out and shown much more inflation over time. And so that means, or could mean, that producers have been absorbing price increases, but perhaps don't have any more flexibility to do so on a going forward basis. So what does this all mean? It means that there's just a lot of noise in the market, a lot of noise in the economy, and until the Fed actually makes a decision and a path forward, the market is just going to be up and down as far as interest rates goes. I want to move you to page 16 of your packet because I want to talk about what we're doing in the face of all the noise. And I think I shared a little bit of this the last month that we were together. Our strategy for the district's portfolio is to continue to focus on the fundamental principles of portfolio management. The interest rate environment is going to do what it's going to do. The federal administration has a path forward that they're taking. Our goal is to ensure that the district's assets are liquid for cash flow needs, that they're in safe investments, and that we're earning a reasonable rate of return. So throughout this past month, when rates were up, that was an opportunity for us to lock in some higher yielding securities. And so you can see the purchases at the bottom of this page 16. We were able to lock in some fairly...
Our numbers are just a little different.
Your numbers.
I mean, your numbers
I'm
are
on 16 of the packet.
What does it look like?
Portfolio update.
The update.
All right, perfect. It's the PDM. Page
7 on the regular one.
Yes. Page.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's not a problem. We just need to catch up.
So this shows a list of the transactions that we made in the district's portfolio over the month. And what I want to point out here is that, we're taking advantage of opportunities to prudently enhance interest earnings when they present themselves, while maintaining our focus on safety and liquidity. And so interest rates were up about 24 basis points over the month, and that allowed us to lock in some very attractive securities. And so we were able to purchase U.S. Treasury securities, some callable agencies, and some other assets that are allowed by the district's investment policy. These types of purchases are going to help sustain us when interest rates continue to go down, whether the Fed actually cuts rates in September or they don't. I think that by being prudent and by focusing on the fundamentals, the district can be reassured that we're keeping your assets safe and well protected so that you all can do the projects necessary to keep the transportation moving in this area. The other thing I'll point out is on page 9 in the bottom right, or page 18 if you're looking at the black numbers, the portfolio overall. Again, we continue to be well diversified. We are looking at the district's liquid assets as well. So between your camp and LEAP assets, the district has plenty of liquidity in the portfolio. And again, we continue to work with staff to ensure that things are optimized across the investment curve as well. So I'll hold here for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Monique? Any comments? Do you have anything else for us, Monique?
I'm really excited about our next meeting together. That will be after the September.
Well, maybe not
Closer.
Okay.
You.
In that case, this concludes our discussion on this item. But before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak?
We have no speakers on this item.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion on agenda item 3?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record show there's no opposition and the motion passes. There are no items on, thank you again, Monique. There are no items under 4 or 5 for consideration, so we'll continue to item number 6, which is the status report on the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. The staff report begins on page 27, and Jennifer Minucci is presenting the report. Jennifer, please continue.
Good morning. Before I start with item number 6, just wanted to show that on the board table you have your adopted budget. So big thanks to the staff, took them. It's always the production at the end of the adopted budget. Just wanted to note that any decisions that were made before June 30th are included. So that would include, I think, significantly the ATU bus operators who have the extension of the contract. So their cost of living is in this. So when you look at the totality, it changes a little bit, but I'm going to walk through that a little bit on the budget status as well, kind of link that. So this is the hard copy. You don't want coffee table materials, you can feel free to leave them because it's also on the website. So you can also get on the website. What we liked about that version is you can kind of click to the pages you want on the table of contents. So that's always a level effort. So we hope you use it. All right. So
having those.
Just the logistics. Okay. Item number 6 here, your status report on the budget. Turning to page 29, which is kind of the template that we've been using. Changed it up just slightly to kind of update what's happening for this year's budget. So the amount needed to actually balance the adopted budget for 25-26, if you were to take out the one-time SB 125 funding, we just want to start kind of the base, is $58.2 million. So just to kind of give you a frame of reference, if we didn't have the one-time funding that's on paper, on budget, we'll talk a little bit more about that. That is kind of the new number for 25-26. That being said, that we know we've secured $34.55 million in one-time funding through SB 125. So when you take that allocation out, really the deficit for FY 25-26 that we're looking to whittle down is at 23.7. If you may or may not recall in the proposed book, it was actually higher. It was brought down because at the end of the year, when we basically paid all the bills out, we were at a $7.9 million shortfall that we took out of reserves. We actually predicted almost double that. So that's good news in the sense that every month we try to whittle down the expected shortfall, either through just making sure we're efficient on our expenses, or sometimes we get lucky on the revenues and looking at the trends on that. That being said, reminder, the budget, at least the way I've been doing it for the last couple decades, is really conservative. We want to make sure that it covers everything. So the revenues are conservative. Sometimes Dennis and I have to go through to be like, really, you think it's going to be that? But I think as we're trending out of looking at downtown traffic, this year is kind of a good, kind of stable traffic pattern, I think. And so we'll talk about that as this budget report will reflect kind of what we projected on revenues and expenses and then how we're doing. So if you look at line 2, you'll see that for revenues for tolls and transit that we look on a monthly. For tolls, which is unusual, it did not come into budget. Actually, there's kind of an accounting timing issue. So about 40,000 of that will be replenished of that negative next month. But we are seeing kind of our trend flattening out. So our budget projections are kind of coming to true. So we'll be looking at that. It is only the first month. And then for the bus fares, the ridership has gone up, and I'm going to talk about that in the next item, but the ridership's gone up, and so we're positive on there. For ferry, it looks negative. Part of that is our projection, I think, for baseball was we just had less games we served than I thought we were going to predict for just the month, but overall we should be fine. And then I'm going to talk a little bit too is that we had a clipper outage for a day, so that actually had an effect for the month's revenue overall. Looking at the expenses, we had low spending for the month of July, which is expected. We're all trying to get set up for the year. So what we predicted we were going to spend, we spent almost $4 million less. So every month we kind of whittle that down. At the end of the day, our shortfall from I'll just call it the 23.7 is really at 19.8. So in a month, as I say, kind of start closing the gap. We keep whittling it down. This is what the status report's for, to kind of show you budget to actual, and then some of the other reports mention actual to actual. I think that is all I have to say on the budget status report. We'll talk a little bit more about the long-term structural shortfall as we get into projections in the fall. But this is a reset for the fiscal year on just doing a status on the budget on a monthly level. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have questions for Jennifer? Thank you, Jennifer. And I think you all know, Jennifer's fairly new sitting in that seat. Even I text her sometimes during the month and ask her questions about it. She's very open to that. She'll get right back to you.
Yeah.
So don't hesitate if you have questions, not to wait till today. Give her a text or give her a call. Thank you very much. Let's see. Do we have to vote on that one? No. All right. So now let's move on to item number 7, which is the monthly review of Golden Gate Bridge traffic tolls, bus and ferry transit patronage fares, as well as 8A, monthly statement of revenues and expenses, and 8B, monthly statement of capital programs and expenditures. Go ahead, Jennifer.
All right, let me roll through that. Before I leave the budget status report, I just wanted to recognize and realize I was not here last month, but we have a new director of budget. His name is Grant Martinez. So you'll start probably seeing him a little bit as well, but just wanted to recognize that we have refilled my old position, so at least part of it, so that is good news. All right, let's start.
When he comes to a meeting, make sure and introduce him.
We will.
Sometimes we look and aren't sure who they are.
Correct. All right. Let's do page 39 that has a summary. I like this table because it gives you kind of a side by side on traffic and ridership versus the revenues. So on the left side, it looks pretty sparse because it's only the first month, but you'll see July on the ridership and traffic. All the modes are up. That's great news. I like to look actual to actual, how we're doing from last year. So we're up 1% for bridge, we're up 8% in bus, and we're up 3% in ferry. So, good news, we are getting more ridership and more traffic. However, on the right side, you'll see kind of the effect of the revenue. For toll revenue, if you recall, we do have a 5-year toll plan, so the average 50 cents went up in July 1st. So we should be expecting actual to actual to have an increase. Again, we had a timing cash flow issue that you'll see another 40,000. So that percentage for next month will show up. So we are trending, where we thought we would be for tolls. As it relates to bus, it went up 8%, yet there's only a 2% increase. They also had a fare increase July 1st. And I would say the majority of this actually is we had a clipper outage on July 1st, right? And, this is the effect of some of the fare. We are talking to MTC, who is going to look to reimburse the operators for that day, for that outage. But in the meantime, this really is what happened for the cash flow for the month for bus. As it relates to ferry, they're up 3%, but their revenue is down 6%. Part of that is the clipper outage. But part of that is there was the number of days of baseball service last year compared to this year, just the number of days in July. That is just what happened for the month. So I'm not concerned about that. We'll see kind of the trend as it comes out of summer for ferry. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions on item number 7.
Are there any questions for Jennifer on these items? All right, hearing none.
We get to item 8. So number 8, which starts 8A, which starts on page 45 of your packet. Just really the monthly review. Again, I call this the cash flow report. So it looks different than the budget because the budget, we're kind of trending budget to actual. This one's kind of what came in and what went out. Positive is always good. So we brought in 24.1 in revenues. We spent 19.8 in expenses. So at least for the month, 4.3. That's what we want to see. And we will trend it as the months go out. So obviously it's the cash flow for the first month.
It's important to note cash flow varies quite a bit month to month. Their biggest expense is people. That's pretty constant. But later in the year, they'll be buying more equipment and things like that. And consumables, and some of the consumables come in waves. So, you don't judge the year by 1 month. Just don't get too excited. Because if all of a sudden we, place another paint order or blast grid or, something like that, then the numbers could swing quite a bit. But it's a great start, as Jennifer said.
We also get local operating funds, kind of in quarterly files, so you'll see that on the revenue side as well. Questions on that? You want to roll into the next one? You are on page 55 of your packet, the monthly financial statement review for capital. First month, people are just spending low spending for the capital program. Really don't have any statements on this. This really kind of shows the distribution of what's being paid and the funds from the federal, state, and local. Happy to go over if you have any questions on this item.
Are there any questions? I think you're clear.
Right. Then that concludes the finance packet. Happy to answer any other questions if you have any.
All right, so that concludes the official discussions on these. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on items 7, 8A, or 8B?
We have no speakers for actually 6, 7, 8A, and 8B.
Aha, sorry about that. No problem. Before we continue to item 9, which is a closed session, if there are no objections, I'd like to accommodate the public and take item 10, public comments now instead of after closed session. Are there any objections to public comment now? All right, I don't hear any. Thank you. Thanks to everyone for their patience during the meetings. It's been a long morning. We'll be placing the public on hold for the duration of our closed session item, and we'll return after closed session to adjourn the meeting. Our attorney, Kim Manolius, will take us into closed session. Kim, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Parr. This time, the Finance-Auditing Committee will go into closed session for a conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9D2. The case called Catherine Ashworth versus the district.
Just a quick clarification, we will poll public comment just in case during closed session in the event someone joined late and they actually do want to speak and they didn't get a chance to speak up, but we have that opportunity during closed session.
I'm sorry, I asked. I thought I asked.
It's just in case.
Just poll.
Yeah, just
Actually, gonna leave it at the end. Yeah, just so we can see everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you while we're in closed session this morning for keeping your phones muted. If you would like to speak under public comment on the Finance Committee, please unmute yourself right now and let me know by clicking or pressing ** on your own device and giving me your name. This is if you'd like to make public comment at the Finance-Auditing Committee meeting when we resume out of closed session. Again, if you'd like to speak this morning under public comment on the Finance-Auditing Committee meeting, once we resume the meeting after closed session, please press ** on your device and let me know. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone. Thanks.
Thank you. We're back in open session.
Thank you. Kim, would you please provide your closed session report out?
Yes, thank you, Chair Parr. The committee met in closed session for conference with legal counsel of the Ashworth case and gave its lawyer appropriate guidance as to how to proceed.
Thank you very much. And with that, we've reached the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Hearing no objections, that concludes the meeting of the Finance-Auditing Committee. Thank you very much. The time is 2 minutes till 2 minutes.
11:30, 11:27.
11:27.
11:27.
There you go.
11:27.